Welcome to the introduction session on how to use Excel and how to do some basic data analysis using Excel and entering formulas. So what I have here is a very basic Excel worksheet and with some data already entered. And to show you how I got to this point, so I went to Start. Typically your spreadsheet programs might be listed here. It's not, so I'm going to go under My Programs and go under Microsoft Office package, and right there open a file with Excel. And so you would get a blank sheet that way. I just went down here, zoomed in a little bit to make it look a little bit bigger for you guys. But there we have it. We have a blank Excel worksheet. And in Apple or Mac computers, you should have a similar situation where you should be able to open some type of a spreadsheet software. So this is like a grid paper. It's almost like one gigantic big table. You know you have to enter tables in Word, but the nice thing about this one is it's also like it has a built-in calculator, which I'm going to show you those features. So you can actually stay away from the calculator, the external calculators, because there is a built-in calculator here. So let's see how all of that works. First of all, notice that the rows are numbered as 1, 2, 3, etc. The columns are titled as A, B, C, etc. So if I just click on this location right here, and you see the yellow and yellow highlighted, so the location of that cell is C2. That's how you would refer to that cell in the future should you need to use that in your formula. Also, when you click on there, notice that the number also shows up there. So a few other tips: you can basically put your cursor between any two cells. You can enlarge that cell or decrease the width. Same thing with the rows. If you put it just right, you get that little arrows. You can make the for any reason, if you want to put more information, you want a thicker row, you can change the height of the row a little bit. Okay, so for now we're going to enter some data. So I'm going to put the column heading for E will be the final exam grade for these students. And I just press enter. I'm entering the scores now. And the scores are 80. And every time I press enter, again, it's going down. 90, 62, 80, and 85. These are the final exam scores for these same students. And let's just say that I want to find the average for all the students on test number 1. So I will say average. I'll click in somewhere below the column test 1. And anytime you're entering a formula, you need to press equal sign first. And then the command I want to use is average. And you open a parenthesis. You highlight the numbers for which you want to calculate the average. Now, while you're at it, just without doing anything else, just close the parenthesis and press enter. Now, if for some reason this gives you trouble, sometimes in the beginning, you have to put the parenthesis just at the right moment. If you have any trouble with this, look up here. When I click on the cell, it shows you what's in it. It says equal sign, average, parenthesis, B2 colon B6, close parenthesis. So if you enter that manually in here, I'm going to double click so that formula shows up again. You type average, open parenthesis, B2 colon B6. So it's literally find the average of the numbers that are from B2 all the way down to B6. Again, if it's giving you trouble to do the highlighting option, you can literally enter it, you can spell it out what you want to find the average of. So there's our average. The average on test number 1 for these students was 75.8. Let's find the standard deviation. And once again, I need to start with an equal sign. Again, there's a built-in formula, STDEV. Interesting, it's giving you some extra options in there as well. But standard deviation should be just a plain STDEV and open a parenthesis. And again, I want standard deviation for these numbers. Close the parentheses and press enter. There we have it. Let's say I want to find the median. Again, there should be a special key for that, an equal sign. As you start typing, again, it usually shows up the commands that you can use. Again, I want the median of all of these numbers highlighted. Close parenthesis, press enter. And let's say I want to find coefficient of variation. Coefficient of variation. Now, first of all, when I enter that one, you see what's happening. It's kind of going into the other cell. If I click in the other cell and put anything else, it kind of disappears. So what you can do is you can enlarge that column a little bit so it's wider if you want to do that. There are other ways you can make it wrap around so it doesn't go that far. But let me just clear that 5 at the moment. And there is a formula. I'm not sure if there is a straightforward built-in definition for that in Excel, but we know that this is S over X bar, S over X bar times 100%. So let's enter that as a formula into this cell. So I'm going to just click there and start with, as always, with the equal sign. And the formula should be referred to this cell, S. Standard deviation is in there. The moment I click on it, it says B9, divided by the mean, which was sitting up here. Click on that. And then times is from your keyboard, just a little star above the 7, so Shift 8 gives me that star, so times 100. And then the answer will be given as a percentage. So that's going to be 24.5%. That's the coefficient of variation. And now let's say that you want to do this for all the other exams as well. Now you could do the same thing, come here, but put average from here to there, you know, and so forth. You could do that. But an easier way would be you could just highlight these numbers and get the little plus sign. You see how it changes at this right moment. If you just put it in the just right space, the cursor becomes a little black plus sign. Now hold it down when you get that and drag it all the way here. And it should give us all the other averages and standard deviations as well. And it knows how to do this intelligently. Like if I click right in the cell, let's see which numbers did it use for this average, C2 through C6. So you see C2 through C6. Indeed, that's the column you want for this number, right? And in addition, I want to show you guys a formatting tip. So again, if you check each one of them, it'll show you like this is supposed to be standard deviation for these numbers, right? Click on here, look up there, standard deviation E2 through E6, and this was the E column, so that is also correct, right? Right there. So it's this copy paste or drag really works beautifully in Excel. Okay, now I'm going to show you the formatting. I'm going to highlight all of these numbers and do a right click, go to Format Cells, click on Number, and usually 2 decimals or 1 decimal. Let me just say 1 decimal right now. I'll say OK. So all of them have been formatted to show only 1 decimal. And a few other formatting tips, if you highlight your column, let's say these are this is a table, or maybe this is a table that you want to display in your Word document. Something you can do is you can do a right click. As a matter of fact, let me go to the home. Okay, the home ribbon should show you all the formatting like bold, centered, etc. But there's a item right here. Let's see, right there, the little grid. And I want to put a border all around. So I'm going to pick all borders around all the cells. Click on that. And you see it kind of gives you a nice display. And later you can copy this whole table if you choose to. You can copy it and then go to Microsoft Word. And then I can just paste it. I'm just going to do a right click, and there's so many paste options these days, but let's just go with one of them. So there we have it. And even when you bring it here, you have a opportunity to adjust the row columns and heights. You can make it a little bit wider so it sits in one row. And if you want to put another column or another row, like I'm going to highlight everything and right click, insert. And I want to insert a row above where I was. And I can come here, like I could say, okay, this is my test number 1 scores or the averages for test number 1. And if it doesn't fit, I can put the cursor right in between those two cell locations to get it a little bit wider. So you can play with it even after you bring it to your Word document. But one thing you should know is, like sometimes you want to put it maybe if you want to center it, just click on this little handle. Like right there's a handle. If you click on that, the whole thing is selected. You can center it in your Word document. So you can do all sorts of things with it. But that's not what we want. Let me just do an undo to get rid of that extra extra row. Okay, so you can bring things to Word document, you can write things around, whatever, and then display the information and so forth. So you can easily go between Excel and Word. Okay, let me do escape. Okay, now let's say that I want to calculate the student's average. So I'm going to say here average for the student, and this is going to be a weighted average. Let's say that I want to take 20% of all the exams and 40% of the final. So I could say equal sign. I'm going to point 20 times from the keyboard and then just come and click on test 1 and then plus point 20 times the next item plus point 20 times the next test and the last one plus point 40 times the final. So if I do that, I'll have the weighted average for that student. And again, you can do copy and paste. Just get the little black plus sign and drag it down. That formula will be copied for all the other students. Again, you can click on either cell to make sure it's using the correct values. Like this should be finding the average for Kayla. So you should take Kayla's test. So as you can see, 0.20 times B6, which is Kayla's test 1 score, plus 0.20 times C6, and so forth, and it's evaluating the average for Kayla there. So you can do averages of the columns, you can do averages of the rows, you can do any other types of statistics for rows or columns. Okay, I made a mistake and entered something, so I'm just going to press escape to get out of there. Okay, the other thing I want to show you is a little bit about how to do graphs. So first I want to display the student versus their test number 1 score, and I'm going to do a bar graph. So I'm going to highlight. Okay, let's see how it works with this because there's no title here, but let's try. So I'm going to go to insert. All your graphs are under insert tab. It's going to be a column or sideways, doesn't really matter. A column graph. I just want a simple bar graph for this. Okay, there we have it. It gives me the title of the graph. It takes it from your column heading. And this one here, I really don't need anymore. I have a title for my graph. I will delete. And nicely, the first column displays on the x-axis the name of the students. So this is how student scores were on test number 1. And if you want, you can resize this, get a little arrow on the corner and make it as big as small you want. Click anywhere on the white area. When it's highlighted, you can do a right click, copy it, and then go to your Word document and you can. And next, let's create a pie chart using the data that is given to us on the screen. And a pie chart, of course, works perfectly well when you have a categorical data versus numerical data. And here we have name of the company on the left column and how many units of cell phones they have sold in the first quarter of 2013 in the second column. Everything is in thousands of units, so technically this 100,000 here really represents 100 million units sold, but it was abbreviated in terms of thousands of units. And if your quantities given in the table represent a whole, like in this case we have all the companies and some gathered under the title Other, making up all the sales made for cell phones in that quarter, then creating a pie chart makes sense because then you can show how each of these components make up part of the whole as a percent. So what we're going to do is we're going to highlight the data. Again, anytime we need a graph, we go to Insert tab. This time we're going to select Pie Chart and the 3D. And already you can see we have a very nice graph, except this is not ideal. It's not perfect yet. So let's first click on the pie, do a right click. We're going to add some data labels. We want to see what percentage each company represents worldwide. So we're going to go to Add Data Labels. It actually gives us an exact values from the table, but there's a better way. If you click on the data and right click, go to Format Data Labels. And this time select percentage and get rid of the value. I think percentages are a lot better to represent on pie charts. You can see what's happening clearly. And let's enlarge the graph a little bit. There we have. And finally, I'd like to change the title of the graph. And if you did not have a title when you first got it, just remember you can go to Chart Tools. When you select your graph, that comes up automatically. Go to Layout, go to chart title and select above chart. So that will place a tentative title based on your second column entry. But I will edit that and I will make a new entry right now. So let's just say cell phone sales worldwide in thousands of units. And I can double click and it looks like a very long title. I will break it into two halves and second half on the second line. There we go. So as you can see, using Excel is really pretty straightforward. And in a very quick amount of time, you can create very professional looking documents with tables, charts, and so forth. So I hope you can put this excellent software to good use in your science and statistics classes.